Well, hello and welcome to Serving the Sire in 2 Samuel. This is our 15-minute Bible study in the Word of God, specifically in the book of 2 Samuel. And I want to just take a moment and thank you for coming and just giving a little time to knowing the Word of God. Sometimes we think it takes hours and hours and hours. Sometimes it just takes 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. That's what we're trying to do twice a week, Tuesday, Thursday. We're in the exciting book of 2 Samuel. Before we jump into 2 Samuel 16, we do put out some booklets and things, and we just have a brand new one out. It's called Rahab, a Revealer of the Redeemer. If you've ever studied the life of Rahab in Joshua, what a fantastic picture it is of the grace and the mercy and the forgiveness of God. The first person in the land of Canaan that we will meet is a harlot, Rahab the harlot. And yet God has done a fantastic work in her life, and she will be received into the family of God, and eventually will make it into the line of Christ. I don't want to reveal any more, but we'd love to send that to you or get it to you. All you need to do is comment to us, and we'd be glad to send you a copy. And so that's another way in which we're just trying to get the Word of God out. Well, we're in 2 Samuel chapter 16. We've been talking about chapter 15, and we're going to carry it over into chapter 16. Troubled hearts. David is in a dark time in his life, and it's just a lot of chaos, a lot of turmoil, a lot of trouble. And sometimes when problems occur, we don't see ourselves in very good light. And we think, well, I would not have done that if it wasn't for that problem. Well, problems simply reveal who we really are. And that's a hard truth to consider and to really let sink in, that, well, I got angry and yelled because I've got an angry heart. I just gave up and quit because I've got that kind of a heart. And not that we cannot be shaken a little, but I'm talking about major movements here. And yet, on the negative side, we can also see the positive side. I've seen people that have gone through turmoil and have gone through troubles, and what a blessing and what a help they've been. When we go through problems and we come across people who are hurting or going through problems, we can either hurt them or we can help them. And David's going to receive both. We've looked at Ittai the Gittite. He had a helping heart. We looked at David, of course. The predominant heart in 15 and 16 would be a holy heart. We find Ahithophel, and we'll talk about him again here in chapter 16, had a very hard heart and wanted to get even with David. We have Hushai, the Archite, and he wants to have a humble heart and simply just avails himself to the king and says, whatever you need me to do, I'm willing to do it. Well, A.W. Tozer says this: the Bible was written in tears, and to tears it yields its best treasures. Sometimes the adversity and problems in our life drive us to God, and we learn some amazing things. And we certainly do that as well as we look here at the life of David. So here we go, 2 Samuel 16 and verse 1. And when David was a little past the top of the hill, behold, Ziba, the servant of Mephibosheth, that's a fun name to say, met him. Okay, now we've already met both of these individuals. I think it's back in 2 Samuel. I want to say 6. I should have looked that up before we started. But it's at the beginning. And Mephibosheth, remember, was the son of Jonathan. He was lame, and he was out in the middle of nowhere in a place called Lodabar. He did have a servant that was overseeing all of Saul's assets. His name is Ziba. And even back then, you can find Ziba kind of lorded over Mephibosheth. And David steps in and says, I'm going to take Mephibosheth. I'm going to take him to the palace. He can eat with me, live with me. And Ziba, I'm going to let you continue to maintain the properties. And you can have a little bit of the profits like you would do with most servants. But the rest I want you to bring and give back to your master, Mephibosheth. And so as this is all taking place, they're now outside of Jerusalem. They're beginning to get kind of over to where it's getting to be a little safe. And as they're just a little bit over the hill, here comes Ziba. And he met him with a couple of asses saddled, and upon them 200 loaves of bread, 100 bunches of raisins, 100 of summer fruits, and a bottle of wine. So here he comes, and he has these asses, these donkeys that are laden with provisions. I mean, what a haul this would have been. We have 200 loaves of bread. We've got 100 bunches of raisins. Now, my wife wouldn't like that because she doesn't like raisins. I do like raisins. And summer fruits. And then, of course, wine would have been for them to be able to drink. You say, what would they do with all this food? Well, we know just from Ittai the Gittite, they've got over 600 people. I about imagine this is probably a group numbering in the thousands. And so you're probably only looking at a meal or so. But boy, as they had to flee Jerusalem, these provisions would have been so helpful. And the king said unto Ziba, he's worked with him before. Ziba's kind of an opportunist. I was keeping with the H alliterated hearts, and I have that he has a hankering heart. That is, when he saw problems happening, he had a hankering for more. Now, that maybe is a little bit more of a country term, but I got a hankering for, or I'm hungry for, or I've got a desire for. There's some people, when problems happen, they want to take advantage of the situation and improve themselves, even if it's at the cost of other people. This is Ziba. Well, King David has a clue to this. He says, what meanest thou by these? He said, why are you bringing all these? And Ziba said, the asses be for the king's household to ride on, the bread and the summer fruit for the young men to eat, and the wine that such as be faint in the wilderness may drink. And so that sounds good. He said, I want to be a help. And the king said, and where is my master's son? And Ziba said unto the king, behold, he abideth at Jerusalem. Of course, we're referring to Mephibosheth, for he said, today shall the house of Israel restore to me the kingdom of my father. Now, that is an out-and-out lie. And we know that because you'll pick up Mephibosheth again when David returns. I believe it's in chapter 19. And but in the moment, Ziba's hankering heart to manipulate David and get what he wants, it actually works. And David makes one of the rare, probably bad moves. Not terrible, but just not a great move, in that in the midst of problems, he makes a quick decision. And then said the king to Ziba, verse 4, behold, thine are all that pertaineth unto Mephibosheth. And Ziba said, I humbly beseech thee that I may find grace in thy sight, my king, my lord, O king. And off he goes. Okay, so we're going to see the heart of Ziba, that as soon as he gets what he wants, he's gone. He's back. He's not going to be loyal, and he's not going to follow David. And if Absalom happens to win, I mean, hey, I wasn't David's friend. I was his enemy. If David wins and returns, I've already got this foothold. David gave his word. And what David did in his haste was he said, rather than sharing this and you're getting a percentage and Mephibosheth gets the rest, you can just have it all. Ooh. David was hurt, and he didn't verify. Of course, it was very difficult for him to verify what was happening with Mephibosheth. Now, Mephibosheth is lame, and we know basically Ziba just left him and wouldn't help him. But David made a quick decision, and it cost Mephibosheth. Now, David's going to still take care of Mephibosheth, so all ends up working out well. But it is a reminder to us two things. One, don't be an opportunist when other people are hurting. Don't look to, hey, they're hurting and they want to get rid of this item, or they're wanting to do this thing that's drastic, and you just want to swoop right in and pick it up and say, oh, wow, what a great deal. Or do you come back and say, well, you probably shouldn't be doing that. If you want to, let's wait. And if you still want to do that, then maybe we can do that. And people that are hurting, don't make decisions hastily. Pray and talk to God. Give it time to set. Because when you're hurting, when you're sorrowing, your mind just is not thinking well. And when King David, verse 5, came to Bahurim, behold, thence came out a man of the family of the house of Saul, whose name was Shimei. And this guy right here is one that he's a hurting heart. And he's just going to hurt people. And hurting people always hurt other people. And so that's why we know Shimei has a hurting heart. He comes out, he's of the house of Saul. His name is Shimei, he's the son of Gera. He came forth and he cursed, still as he came. And he cast stones at David and at all the servants of King David and all the people and all the mighty men that were on his right hand and on his left. Thus said Shimei when he cursed, come out, thou bloody man, and thou man of Belial. And the Lord hath returned unto thee all the blood of the house of Saul, in whose stead thou hast reigned. And the Lord hath delivered the kingdom into the hand of Absalom thy son, and behold, thou art taken in thy mischief, because thou art a bloody man. Now, Shimei is just coming out, and he's just a hurt man. He evidently despises David because he took the family fame, and he's falsely accusing David in a sense of being a bloody man. And he's falsely accusing, stating that now David's reign is over and Absalom's is going to begin to reign, and that he's a man of mischief. But in reality, God is taking those false accusations, and they're actually true accusations for David. He was a bloody man. He had murdered Uriah the Hittite. He was a man of mischief. He had stolen Bathsheba, and he had manipulated to have everything, quote unquote, covered over. And so as David is going up that mount, he's beginning to realize these are some of the consequences of sin that are playing out. And so as Shimei is just cursing and cursing, and he's throwing stones and he's throwing dirt, and it's getting weary. You ever have people that just try to hurt you? And you're trying to do what's right. You're not perfect. You're David, and they come up and they're pointing out all your faults, and who do you think you are? And you're just a young sprout, or you're just an old person, or you. I remember what you said, 15 years ago, and they're just constant. It's wearing. And we come to the next heart, and that's a holding heart. This is a guy that's just loyal to the core. Then said Abishai, the son of Zeruiah. Now, remember, Abishai is the brother of Joab and Asahel. Asahel's already been killed. Joab is not a real good guy. He holds to David, but only as long as David holds the kingdom. Abishai is a loyal man through and through, but he's loyal to David no matter what. And so Abishai comes to David, and he says, why should this dead dog curse my lord the king? Let me go over, I pray thee, and take off his head. I always have to laugh at that, because I often think that would probably be something in the Bible. If I was in there in David's kingdom, I might have said something like that. It wasn't a good thing to do. No matter what the guy is saying, David will rebuke him and say, just let him curse. But Abishai loved David so much, he said, that's not false, that's not true. And David, I tell you what, I got my sword right here. I can just walk up that hill and walk off his head, and that dirty dog, he'll be gone, and we don't ever have to listen to him again. And that had to be tempting to David. But David has a holy heart. And look at David's response. The king said, what have I to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah? The sons of Zeruiah were always ones that they were holding hearts, but they were hasty hearts. They just quickly wanted to do things. And David is telling Abishai, you need to stop. You need to not do this. Remember Abishai before in 1 Samuel, we covered this. When they snuck into the camp of Saul, Abishai said, oh, look, God's delivered Saul into your hands. Let's kill him. And David says, no, we're not going to do that. Here seems another opportune time to do evil in order to accomplish good. And David says, Abishai, we're not going to do that. Abishai, as opposed to Joab, is one that could be taught and could be worked with David. And so David said to Abishai and to all of his servants, let me back up verse 10. He says, so let him curse, because the Lord has said unto him, curse David. Who shall then say, wherefore hast thou done so? Then he says to all the servants, behold, my son, which came forth out of my bowels, seeketh my life. How much more now may this Benjamite do it, lest him alone, and let him curse, for the Lord hath bidden him. It may be that the Lord will look on mine affliction, and that the Lord will requite me good for his cursing this day. David's prayer here is wonderful. It shows that he can rise above all the hate and vitriol, and he can actually help people in the midst of his problems. He could have used Abishai, which would have hurt him. And you're going to find, because he helps Abishai, towards the end of 2 Samuel, we're going to get to it, Abishai is going to save David's life. And would it have happened if Abishai had hastily gone forth and been out of the will of God? Possibly not. But David helped Abishai, and Abishai would come back to help David. You never know when you're going through problems, the people you help and how they will help you. Well, I want to close with this. Warren Wiersbe says this: David was exhausted. He was discouraged. Yet he never rose to greater heights than when he allowed Shimei to go on attacking him. Sometimes you just have to do this, and you just have to say, Lord, I'm leaving them in your hands. Don't be tempted to do something evil in order to, quote unquote, accomplish something good. Well, thank you for joining us. We will finish up the remainder of this chapter, maybe sneak into chapter 17 next time. God bless you.